Still in Nigeria, now the Center for Democracy and Development have joined the call on President Muhammadu Buhari to sign into law the Electoral Bill 2021, saying it would represent the most significant legacy of his presidency. Now, this comes on the aegis of the 30-day period which the president is expected to assent or withhold his approval to the bill ended yesterday. Now, the bill was transmitted to the president on November 19th, 2021, after both chambers had passed it.
Now, the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, a coalition of over 70 organizations working in support of credible and transparent elections in the country, urged President Muhammadu Buhari to assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill of 2021. Now, although the presidency says the president will make known his stand soon. Joining us to discuss this parliamentary and to discuss more on this is parliamentary and political analyst who has been following this case toe to toe. We have Fred Ital, who is joining us on Breakfast this morning. Many thanks for joining the program, Fred. Now, can you tell us why the president is taking so much time in responding or even giving his approval to the electoral bill?
Okay, well, there are laws on how bills are passed and the period within which the president must respond. That privilege expired yesterday, and by our law as well, it's up to the National Assembly to decide if they will take on the president via an override of the veto, which obviously the president appears to have already given. So probably tomorrow, when the National Assembly will reconvene from its weekly break, I'm sure a letter will be on the floor where they will decide on how they will proceed going forward. People have questioned why the president took that action, but from what we know, the major issue regarding that rejection was the removal of indirect primaries, which for many people, especially political actors, was not within the purview of lawmakers to have done that. They were supposed to have led political parties to decide which of the options to go for. But with the amendments right now, it means everyone will have to stick with just one option of direct primaries. That doesn't mean that political parties will have no option but to follow what the lawmakers are doing. And people have ascribed the decision of lawmakers to a number of factors, one of which is the fallout of the conventions the ruling party, that's the All Progressive Congress, had across the country. Many lawmakers were kind of left out, and governors of the various states who are members of the same ruling party kind of hijack the structure. So for them, the only way they will have a say or probably return to the assembly in 2023 is to have a direct primary where the governor, to a large extent, will not have a full control of who becomes what going forward. So these were the major issues that informed the decision by the National Assembly and the pressure from stakeholders on President Muhammadu Buhari not to assent to that bill. So these are the issues.
Inclusion of mandatory direct primaries, right? This contentious issue once again, Fred. But Fred, there are also reports indicating that governors were opposed to the direct primary as it tends to deprive them of the opportunity to produce their successors, so to speak, and clean senatorial tickets should they decide to retire to the National Assembly, as has become, the growing trend. Is this, do you think you share this sentiment? Is this true?
No, I don't. I'm not holding brief for the governors, but I'm not sure they were opposed to direct primaries. The argument they've always had, which is subsist out of today, is that there should be the option of direct and indirect primaries, which currently exists in the amendment in the current act, which the INEC is using in conducting elections in the country. But with the amendments, they are saying going forward, no more indirect primaries, or what some people will call electoral college, where certain delegates will go to the center and elect a candidate of any political party to run for elections. But what they have now is that every registered member of any political party across the country will participate directly, as against a few individuals who probably are controlled by the governors will have to hold sway. Yes, if you hold the view that governors may be scared, you are right, but others may also disagree. Over time, governors will find a way to hijack the system because it will result to a case of who funds the election. If you also recall, Direct primaries are quite expensive. The electoral body in Nigeria has also affirmed that. And it's just a matter of time. Governors who have the purse or the control of the purse in their states will still outdo the senators and members of the House of Reps. So whether or not they go for direct or indirect primaries, the governor will always find a way to have their way. Is that the system work, at least for now?
All right. Now, Fred Etoile, now we know how important this electoral amendment bill is, especially for the coming election in the year 2023. Do you think the president will send to signing this electoral bill eventually?
I don't think he will do that. If the president wanted to sign the electoral amendment bill, what happened in the case of the petroleum industry bill would have happened. There were several errors, several inadequacies with the petroleum industry bill, but the president signed it into law, after which, immediately, almost a week after he signed it, the bill was returned to the National Assembly for an immediate amendment. It means the president wanted that bill signed. So if the president also wanted this signed, like he did with the petroleum industry bill, he ought to have appended his signature, then forward it to the National Assembly to carry out the necessary amendment. That was what people expected. And the fact that the two chambers of the National Assembly are largely controlled by the president, because the Speaker of the House of Reps and the Senate President were people favored by the president of the country before they were elected. And whatever he wants, he always gets it. We've seen that in the last 2.5 years, where almost every request of the president is always approved. So stakeholders believe that if the president had wanted this sign, he would have done that. And the other argument is that it's not enough to just discard everything because of any significant aspects of the amendment. The main thrust of the amendment is the issue of electronic transmission of results. Indirect primary or direct primary is just an addendum. That was not the main thrust. Unfortunately, that has taken over the shine, and nobody is even talking about electronic transmission of results, which by every standard, that would reduce election rigging, which we've had in previous years.
All right, so it remains to be seen, Fred, about this electoral bill, and if it gets signed by Buhari, as many are saying that to really shine a light on significance of his presidency, the legacy of his presidency. But thank you so much, Fred Etoile, parliamentary and political analyst, for coming this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you for having me.